All right, morning, evening, afternoon, all, and welcome back to the Plug Live podcast. Wherever, whenever you listen to this, I hope you're having a great day. Every week I do this, it feels like something big happens. Like last week, we discussed some of the hottest topics in the world, like Greg Norman, 11 shorts, and the LIV Tour. And this week, it's no different. Like we have Bryson getting beheaded by a rope at the LIV event in Chicago. Tony Finau shot the easiest 60 on an 8,000 yard course in Utah, where his previous course record was a 68. So there's a lot to unpack here. It's so over the next whatever it's going to be 40 or 50 minutes, we'll dive into some of these major issues. But we did have Mr. Max Homa, Mr. Social Media himself, win for the 5th time on the PGA Tour this week. It's his 4th time winning since January 2021, and in that time, nobody, and I mean nobody in the world, has won more individual world golf ranking points or world golf ranking events than Max Homa. To win 4 times over the last whatever it is, like 20 months, is insane. And he's not just becoming this content creator anymore, he's becoming a legitimate person to talk about every single event that we go to. He is that good. And it was just unbelievable how good. Like, Greg Ducharme on Twitter at the Real GFD put up a thread yesterday evening that he ranked outside the top 150 in strokes gained around the greens before, I think it was the Wells Fargo. And then in his last 11 events, he's gained at least one stroke around the green 8 times from 11 events. That's sick. He's just improved his short game so much. And I think I didn't see too much of it last night, I'll be honest. I had other commitments, but I think it's just unbelievable how good he has become. And like, listen, we all know what happened, Danny Willett. We've seen it all over social media, and I'll touch on that in a second. But Max Homa is a genuine golfer, a genuine player, and he used to be criticized that he was only ever going to be this social media individual, and nobody would ever really. That's all anybody would ever rate him for, was being funny on social media, and he used to have major issues with that because he worked hard in this game. And now it seems like he's just trending in the right direction. He's jumping on board his chartered flight. He's going to play his first ever President's Cup this week, and it's going to be sick. So, to you, sir, that was absolutely great. But Max Homa's gain is 100% Danny Willett's loss. Danny Willett had a par 5 18th. He got up. He knocked his wedge to 4 feet. He had a birdie opportunity to win the event from 4 feet. Misses the birdie putt. Leaves himself 4 feet back. Misses the par putt. Makes bogey. Oh, that's a brutal way to lose a PGA Tour event. And it would have been his first win since Jaffa Dunhill links back in 2021. But listen, the good thing about Danny Willett is that he can take some positives for this week. If he's going to take anything, he's obviously going to be brutally disappointed. I thought he dealt with the loss extremely well. Congratulated Max straight over to him. Afterwards, tweeting, "Congratulations to Max. Best of luck in your President's Cup this week." Very, very classy. Major birdie points from me. But the thing about Danny Willett was he ranked 5th in strokes gained putting this week and 11th in strokes gained approach. And he hasn't been playing all that well recently. So that's good for him. Kudos to him. It's a brutal way to lose a tournament. But listen, these days come and he'll be back. I do also want to point out, Greg Allen from RTE posted this earlier, that Danny Willett is a renowned closer of golf tournaments, like very, very good at closing out golf tournaments. So I did a little bit of digging, and in my research, I found that since 2011, Danny Willett has held 8 54-hole leads. He's converted 6 of those into victories. So that's 75% conversion rate from a 54-hole lead, and 5 of those were won by multiple strokes. That is remarkably good. But yeah. Listen, I'm not even sure if Danny would have expected to be here this week. He missed 6 out of his last 11 cuts, or not, but be at the top of the leaderboard. He missed 6 out of his last 11 cuts. But he's going back to the after Dunhill links in a few weeks, where he'll hopefully be looking to contend again on the European Tour. The rounding out at the top 5 at the Fortinet Championship, we had Taylor Montgomery, Ben An, and Justin Lauer. Taylor Montgomery starts his rookie season on tour with a 3rd place finish at the Fortinet. Combined with his last 10 starts in the Corn Ferry Tour, Montgomery now has 10 top 15s in his last 11 starts. 7 of those are T4 or better. Like, his last 5 finishes are sick. T2, T3, T4, T9, 3rd. That's so good. And these players coming off, I've always said it, these players coming off the Corn Ferry Tour now are better than we've ever seen before. They play with TrackMan all day in, day out. They understand their numbers. They understand their shot shape. They know how to shape a ball. It's the depth of talent. And to actually be a top 10 player in the world right now, to be a top 50 player in the world right now, you have to be so on your game. And I think this just proves it again. Like, Taylor Montgomery coming down to the Fortinet Championship this week, not the worst event in the world, and finishing 3rd. That's pretty impressive. Speaking of players winning, so if Max Homa is winning non-stop over the last 20 months, Rob MacIntyre probably isn't. He got his 2nd win on the DP World Tour this week. He down at the Italian Open, where 4 out of the top 50 players in the world were attending. He hasn't been playing that well. Similar to Danny Willett, he hasn't been playing that well recently. It was his first top 10 since February. So that's 6 months. Since February, it was his first top 10. But listen, this puts his name on the team sheet for Ryder Cup 2023. He has the basis to go to Luke Donald now and say, this, I won at your Ryder Cup venue down in Marco Simone. I need to be there. So that's good for him. But I couldn't believe when I saw that was his first top 10 in the last 6 or 7 months. And then he goes out and defeats Matt Fitzpatrick in a playoff. Matt Fitzpatrick obviously still playing well. But that was very, very impressive. But Matt Fitzpatrick that putt that Matt Fitzpatrick gave, the first putt I had in the 18th in regulation was, I don't know what it was, maybe like 100 feet. I didn't look up the numbers, but must have been near 100 feet. And he lagged it up to 2 feet. That was balls. And he just loses in the playoff to Rob MacIntyre. But Matt Fitz is like sneaky good. And I don't even think people still realize how good Matt Fitz is. Like, he is so determined to be the number 1 player in the world. He turned up to his agent back in December. He went to I think it was a coach or an agent or something. And the coach asked him, what's your goal? And he's like, I want to be the number 1 player in the world. Like, he is so driven. He documents every single shot that he takes out on tour to see if they're going left, if they're going right, how he's trending, what clubs he needs to hit better, what clubs he's hitting the best, so he can give himself optimal approaches into every green. He is so determined to be the number 1 player in the world. And I genuinely don't think people realize still just how good he is. And the additional distance that he's got with his driver is only starting to materialize now into actually contending events. And yeah, sky is the limit. Rory McIlroy also finished 4th at the Italian Open to collect his 10th top 10 in his last 13 starts. Like, if we're saying consistency is key, Rory McIlroy right now is like the king of consistency. That's just, we don't need to speak about it every single week, but that's Rory McIlroy is like pretty good at golf. 10 top 10s and 13 starts. All right. There was another event down in Chicago. You might have heard of it. It's called the LIV Golf Tour. And Cameron Smith won the LIV Chicago event by 3 shots over Peter Uihlein. I did not watch 1 shot of this. I don't know what to say. I think it's every week I talk about it. There's just, when they're given so much money up front and it feels like there's nothing to play for, I don't really feel obliged to watch it. And the other problem I was thinking about is the problem with having 48 players in an event is the great thing about the PGA Tour is when you have 125 or 140 players or whatever it is playing in a PGA Tour event, there's so many more contenders. And this event is just like Cameron Smith at the top of the leaderboard, and then there's Peter Uihlein and Dustin Johnson who are 3 shots behind them, and then Sergio Garcia. Like, there's only four other players within 5 shots of Cameron Smith. And if you double the field or triple the field to make it 140 or 150 players, all of a sudden you've such a tighter leaderboard contending every single week, and there's way more storylines for her. And that's why I think 48 player events are just boring. Like there's nothing to fight for there. The team event was also won by Dustin Johnson's 4 aces. Like what a team! Like Pat Perez, Patrick Reed, Dustin Johnson, Taylor Gooch. It's their 4th win in a row in the team event. Like, but then you have their announcer Arlo White likened it to the Chicago Bulls run of 6 NBA championships in 8 years. So like, if we're making these sort of comparisons, I said earlier, I don't know how far is too far anymore when we're talking about LIV golf. It just seems like every single announcer and every single statement that comes out by the player is just like so in love with LIV golf. It's so fake. It's so fake. And if people were just a bit more transparent or open, or like, the announcers don't even give honest opinions a lot of the time on the golf. They talk players like they had something about Anna Brandon having 2 major wins. He won runner-up place finish at the Players Championship last year to Cameron Smith. Like, just the whole thing is like a little bit of a comedy show right now. But yeah, that was my main takeaway from this weekend. Having 48 players in an event, you just don't get the depth. You don't get the competition on the Sunday that you really, really need. And maybe that's why it's 54 holes. Is that if it's 54 holes, there's more chance of more people being bunched together rather than it being 72 holes and a player winning by 8 or 10 shots. And that's why there's absolutely no thrill on the Sunday afternoon. That's my thought. But there was a report that came out last week that Apple TV has distanced itself, said it will not be broadcasting LIV, no matter what. They said it's too negative. And another report came out from Front Office Sports saying that Fox is the leading contender to purchase LIV's US media rights. So I don't know what that means. Is it going to... Yeah, I don't think Fox would have been too impressed by the LIV viewership this week. It was the round 3, I think, was their worst viewing spectator-wise or numbers-wise in all of the events so far. And round 2 was the second worst. So like, it just felt like this week that there was no new signees up to play in the event. There was not near as much buzz. And yeah, I don't know what they're going to do next. But listen, however concerned I am about LIV's success or LIV's detrimental impact on the PGA Tour, I am woefully, gravely concerned about Bryson DeChambeau. Guys, if you have Twitter or whatever, maybe even Instagram, I shared on my Instagram earlier on my story, go and watch the video with Bryson DeChambeau getting hit by a rope. It is one of the best videos I've ever seen. It's he tries to go under the rope and then the rope comes up and smashes him in the eye. He's there like, fucking hell, guys, fuck's sake. And he's rolling on the grass. It's brilliant. Everybody should be checking it out. It's the fact that it was Bryson as well. Like, this guy who said that there was fire ants under his ball last year in an event. He's so dramatic about everything. I'd swear I thought he lost an eye. I thought we were going to have to get him an eye patch, and he had lost an eye when he came away from it. It is comedy. Guaranteed to give you a good laugh. There's a few different angles of it. Go check it out. It's hilarious. I think I mentioned Taylor Gooch. Like, Taylor Gooch should probably be on the podcast. I mentioned him that much, but God, the guy is a clown. He won the team event with Dustin Johnson and the 4 aces, and he finished T35. Puts up a post saying another one for the good guys, which is mocking what Shane Lowry said after he won the BMW PGA, the BMW Wentworth PGA Championship. That man, right? I tweeted this earlier. You'd swear by the way he has acted when he moved to LIV that he has won everything now that there is to win in the golf in the world. He's won nothing. He was outside the top 200 of the world golf rankings 3 years ago. He never finished in the top 10. He moved to LIV without realizing that he was moving to LIV. He considered LIV atmosphere to be similar to what would be expected at Ryder Cup, even though he's never played in the Ryder Cup. Who is Taylor Gooch? honest to God, it's like absurd where this kid has come from, and he thinks he's Tiger Woods walking around. He's able to make all these statements. I'm baffled. And my last point, and I will elaborate on this at some stage in the future, is anybody who thinks that LIV is good for golf, I cannot see the argument. We are getting players that are in top 50 in the world having to go and split between two golf tournaments. Imagine there was two NFLs or two Premier Leagues or I don't know, two Champions League, and people had to decide which one they were going to play in. And you didn't get to see the best players in the world competing every single week. It'd be stupid, and the same should be applied to golf. It's fucking stupid, the whole thing. That's my honest, blunt thought, and I'm fucking annoyed that it's gone this far. But there's no, I genuinely don't think there's any attempt here to work together with the PGA Tour. It's yeah. Anyways, I won't dwell on it any longer. We do have a big team event this week that the LIV golfers will not be invited to. It's the President's Cup down at Quail Hollow. So I honestly love these team events. As ironic as that sounds when I'm comparing it to LIV, I do love these team events like the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup, even though we should probably be just talking about how much the USA team is going to win by this week. Because realistically, I think that's all we need to discuss. So I mentioned a few weeks ago, people should be betting on the USA team at 1-3 before all the LIV tournaments, all the LIV golfers got pulled out. That's not changing. But in researching for this pod, I was going through a little bit about the PGA or the President's Cup back in 2019 at Melbourne, which was like one of the best courses I've ever seen in my life. Kind of similar with like the visually to St. Patrick's Links up in Rosspenna, which people know I have a major crush on that course. But anyways, I was looking at the 2019 President's Cup when Ernie Els was the captain of the international team. Like, the international team still lost, and at that stage they had Leishman, they had Neiman, they had Cam Smith, Oosthuizen, Abraham Anser. It was and if they had them that time and they lost, what chance do they really have this time? Like, some of the changes that even happened. Brooks Koepka, people might forget about this, originally made the US team, but withdrew with a knee injury and was replaced by Ricky Fowler. Jason Day had to withdraw because of a back injury and was replaced by Ben Ann. It was the first President's Cup without Phil Mickelson. The 2019 President's Cup was like sick. And this was all before the tournament even started. And then it got even better. The Thursday 4-ball matches, the international team went 4-1 up. The Friday foursomes matches, the international team drew with the United States team, still 3 points up by Friday even. Saturday, it was the international team won by a point in the session, 9-5 in Saturday morning. Saturday afternoon, the US team won 3-1, and the score entering into Sunday was 10-8 to the international team, and then the USA team kind of ran away with it a little bit. But even on the Sunday, there was like a glimmer of hope for the US or for the international team. So, it was Tiger Woods made 7 birdies in 18 holes to defeat, or in 16 holes to defeat Abraham Anser. That President's Cup was so good. And to be honest, the only one I've ever watched, because I wasn't into golf before that. But so that was a good one. I don't know if this one will have the same appeal. Maybe we get a shock result on the Friday morning or the Saturday morning or whatever. It's a 4-day event. I don't think so. The USA team. Let's talk a little bit about the history. The USA team have won 11 out of the last 13 events. President's Cup. The international team won in 1998 at Royal Melbourne, and they tied together in 2003 in South Africa. So, yeah, USA winning 11 out of 13. All of them won all of their events on their home turf. It's this is gonna be tough. Davis Love III is going to be captaining the US team, and he announced that Fred Couples, Zach Johnson, Steve Stricker, and Webb Simpson will be his assistant captains, Webb Simpson, actually good to see him making an appearance for the sake of future Ryder Cup teams, that he could be a potential captain someday. Trevor Immelman, who won the Masters, announced that KJ Choi, Jeff Ogilvy, Camilo Villegas, and Mike Weir would also be his assistants. So make of that what you will. So Trevor Immelman, if after you obviously listen to this podcast, after you finish the whole thing, Trevor Immelman had I think it was like a 50-minute podcast with the First Cut Golf podcast. Really, really good to listen to. Absolutely excellent. He understands that they're the underdogs coming into this event, and everybody understands that. But it's important for him to understand that and realize and be able to encourage players. Listen, we are the underdogs here. We don't need to battle. It would be worse if he was going in deluded, thinking we have a really good chance of winning this. But he knows that he has to inspire belief in his players, and as well as that, he's a big believer in creating camaraderie. He doesn't want to just pick the best players because of what they do. He wants a proper team that are going to go out and fight for each other, which I personally like. I've been involved in team events my whole life. I love playing in a team where it's not just about the best players, it's about the people who work for each other. And golf is a little bit more solo, but I still think the same principles should apply. I think Trevor Immelman is actually going to be a really, really good captain. So the thing about the President's Cup is it's not the same format as the Ryder Cup. It's day 1, there's 5 best ball matches worth 5 points. Day 2, there's 5 alternate shot matches. Day 3, there's 4 best ball and 4 alternate shot matches. So that's 8 points in total. And then day 4, it's 12 singles matches, which is similar to the Ryder Cup. So it's a 4-day event rather than a 3-day event. And yeah, it's we'll see how it goes. The international side has not won a session in foursome since 2005, which is, so as we all know, foursomes is obviously the event where you play alternate shot. Basically, that's what it is. Oh, it's when we even look that's just one statistic that they haven't won a foursome. So when we look at the players in the current US team that have played in President's Cups or Ryder Cup teams, Morikawa and JT, Cantley, Finau, Xander, Scotty, Spieth, all played in 2021 at the Ryder Cup. Spieth has played every single team event except the 2019 President's Cup since 2013. So Spieth is like a stalwart to this game, and he's pretty volatile at the moment. If we're being honest, when we look at his numbers, he's pretty volatile, but he's a stalwart to this. Him, JT, they're going to be the leaders of this team, I believe, and yeah, that good for them. Like, diving into a little bit of statistics here, because I tried my hardest to make an argument for the President's Cup team, or for the International President's Cup team. I can't do it. I genuinely can't do it. Like, if we look at strokes gained total over the last 6 months, 10 out of the top 12 players that will be competing at the Ryder Cup were Americans. The only exceptions to that were Taylor Pendrith and Sungjae Im. In terms of strokes gained total, like, Americans just playing a lot better. They're a lot better players statistically, a lot better players in terms of like their floor, how well they can actually play from week to week. They're just better all round in the international team. And it gets worse. Quail Hollow will be a bomber's paradise. And we saw what happened to the European team there in the Whistling Straits when it was a bit of a bomber's paradise as well. They just have so many great players. And the US team has experience as well. Like, in terms of first appearances, it'll be Morikawa, Scheffler, and Cameron Young making their first appearances. On the international team, it'd be Christian Bezuidenhout, Taylor Pendrith, and Tom Kim making their first appearance. I don't see where this goes statistically for the team. Like, the Quail Hollow is going to be, like I mentioned, a bomber's paradise. It's a George Cobb design from 1961 with Tom Fazio, who redesigned it in 2013 and 2016. Par 71, 7,521 yards with water coming into play on the 7 holes. It's the rough is, I saw a report that it's been cut to around 2 inches.
And I in my research today, I could not find where I saw it, but I did see on Twitter, I think it was like last Friday or last Saturday, that the rough has been cut to 2 inches. So hitting fairways won't even be a priority this week for a lot of players. They'll just stand up and they will smash driver all around the place. And I don't know, just to put it plainly, the US team is simply longer than the international team. Quail Hollow is obviously one of the toughest courses on tour since the 2016 renovation. There's 2 par 4s which can be potentially drivable, but the other 9 par 4s all measure over 450 yards. 5 par 4s measure over 480 yards. The 9th hole is 505 yards, and the 16th hole is 506 yards. I hope I've got the point across that this is a bomber's paradise. So if you're thinking about what we want to look for this week in terms of statistics, distance, obviously, because I couldn't say all the rest of the podcast without saying distance, and long iron play. There's like something like 30% of approach shots are from over 175 yards. So long irons. A little nugget to point out that Andy Lack put up in his Rick Run Good article, rickrungood.com, is in 2018 and 2019 at Quail Hollow, at Wells Fargo, every single one of the top 20 players in the leaderboard gained strokes and approach. So, like, we obviously need good iron play this week. A warm putter will not keep you in your match, more than likely. I'm trying, like I mentioned, try going through a few of these stats to see potentially where the US team can have flaws. I just can't really find any. So Xander and Cantley are like going to be an obvious pairing. They won the Zurich event together. They played Ryder Cup together. They got their friendship or their partnership started back at the 2019 Presidents Cup. Xander has just won the Travelers and the Genesis Scottish Open. He's 21st on tour from 175 to 200 yards and 4th from 200 to 225 yards. On the other hand, it's not like Cantley's going to be relying on him. Cantley's 18th from 200 to 225 yards, and he just won the BMW Championship as well in the FedEx Cup playoffs. Like, God bless any person going up against those two. Hats off to you. That will be a tough, formidable partnership to overcome. And like I mentioned, it doesn't stop there. Scheffler's won the Masters this year. JT's won the PGA. Max Homa, who's making his first appearance at the Presidents Cup, has just won the Fortinet Championship. The depth that these players have. So like JT, in terms of like wins, losses, and ties, JT's gone 6-2-2 in Presidents Cup so far. Spieth has gone 8-5-1. Cantley's gone 3-2-0. Xander's gone 3-2-0. All over 60% win rate. And on the Presidents Cup team, there's only one player on the team with over a 60% win rate. It's I don't know where and that player, is Sung Jae Im. It's going to be tough. Like, even if we keep going through it, like Tony Finau has gained over 11 strokes ball striking in 2 out of his last 4 starts. And like I mentioned at the start of this podcast, he's shot a course record 60 at Promontory Club in Utah, 8,100 yards actually, and his previous low round was 68. Like, and if you watch the video, watch it out. I think golf.com put it up on Twitter. Watch the video. It could have honestly been a 55. I think he had like 3 or 4 lip outs in the front from 8 or 10 feet, just didn't drop. It could have, I'm being serious, it could have been a 55. And he was playing with his son, and I think he was playing with the club pro and one other person. It was so impressive because the whole thing was an Instagram story that Tony Finau uploaded on his own story. If we do want to see where the US team potentially flaws, maybe, just maybe, if they put out Kevin Kisner for every single match, there's a potential. Like, let Kevin Kisner play the 5 4-ball matches on Thursday. Let him play the 5 foursomes matches on Friday and just put nobody out with him. He is the only player in the field that is losing strokes on courses over 7,400 yards since 2020. Like, just doesn't play well on these long courses. And people can say whatever they like. Oh, Kevin Kisner's one of the best players in terms of a match play scenario. I can't believe that he was picked. Like a tweet I said earlier, and the Model Maniac tweeted back at me saying that Aaron Wise should have been given a chance. This felt like the chance where the USA team could have went out and given younger lads a chance to be involved in the team, get exposure to a team environment so they can play better team events in the future. And they go and they put Kevin Kisner in, who's only gone 2-0-2 in President's Cup. I know his Ryder Cup record is pretty impressive as well, I believe. But yeah, I think that's probably one of the only chances that the International President's Cup team has if Kevin Kisner. If Davis Love III goes on an absolute booze on Wednesday night, he says, you know what, guys, we're going to play Kevin Kisner every single match. And I don't care. We're not going to give him a partner. I think that's their only chance. But, like, the international team, like, they're good golfers. I will give them that. They're all good golfers in their own right. But they just don't have the depth. Like, I was going through some of the stats. Like, I can't find anything. I'm looking for a blueprint for Trevor Immelman to do this. Cam Young missed cut at the forward net. Probably wasn't his forte, where like the driving distance wasn't valued as much as this weekend at the Fortnite Championship as we had have thought. But he had 4 runner-ups last season. He's 3rd in driving distance, so he is one person that can actually move the ball off the tee, and 13th in stroke in proximity from 200 to 225 yards. So maybe he comes and he's probably going to be Rookie of the Year this year. Maybe he is a cornerstone for this international team. Hideki Matsuyama. So from the 24 players that will be playing this week, with minimum 3 appearances at Quail Hollow, Hideki Matsuyama is the only person to not have missed a cut. So that's good. Yeah. Okay, but then he's lost strokes off the tee in 7 out of his last 8 starts. He's finished T25 at the Fortnite, where he only gained 2.5 strokes ball striking. So take the good with the bad. Okay, if we talk about Cameron Young being a stalwart, a cornerstone of this team, Sung Jae Im will be. I think he should play every single match possible. Obviously, a lot of people will think that. In his last 17 tournaments on courses over 7,400 yards, he's recorded 13 top 20s. 13 top 20s from 17 events on courses that are just that long. That's really, really good. And it's just going through some of his results here from the last few months. 2nd at the Tour Championship, 15th at the BMW, 12th at the FedEx St. Jude, 2nd at the Wyndham, 2nd at the 3M Open. Excellent golf. Let Sung Jae go out there and just move it. Sung Jae. That's one player who will probably play every single match. Siwoo Kim, his last 6 starts on courses over 7,400 yards, because this statistic that I was buying into all day today when I was researching. The last 6 starts over 7,400 yards, 67th, 13th, 60th, missed cut, 39th. That's actually his last 5 starts. I don't know why I said 6. 67th, 13th, 60th, missed cut, 39th. He averages 301 yards off tee, which I think is like 80th or something on tour. I don't know. Maybe they give him like some sort of rocket launcher to hit the ball off the tee to give him a chance. Munoz has 2 top 20s since last November. What's he gonna really? Who's he gonna win against? Taylor Pendrith is. So that's obviously the good and the bad. The great, I suppose, is Taylor Pendrith. Maybe like Sung Jae, Cameron Young, Taylor Pendrith going to be stalwarts this team. Taylor Pendrith finished 13th at the Players, T8 at the BMW Championship, T2 at the Rocket Mortgage. He actually has 6 top 15s in his last 8 starts. He's 10th in driving distance, and he's not an elite long iron player, but he's 10th in driving distance, which we'll need this week. And maybe Trevor Immelman gets in his ear Wednesday night after he goes on that absolute boozer and says, you know what, Taylor, you're the man this week. You go get them. That's a little bit about the course, the players, the President's Cup. 2019 was a roller coaster, probably one of the best ones they ever had. But USA teams won 11 out of the last 13. The Quail Hollow is going to be a bomber's paradise, and it has been that since 2016. We're going to be looking for distance off the tee and long iron play. Trevor Edmonton knows what he has to do, but I'd say that to-do list is like pretty long because I don't see the blueprint here for the international team winning. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anything else that I wanted to touch on. I think in terms of my own golf game, just drives me down to tears every time. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm actually playing all right. It's not bad. I don't even know why I'm talking about this. I think the reason I'm talking about this is, like I mentioned and alluded to last week, I do have potentially a new series coming out where I talk through different golf courses, my experience at them. I'm hoping to be joined by a special guest for a little series that will come out every week. I think it'll be really, really good for people to listen to. I think it'll have massive potential. And yeah, hopefully we get that recorded pretty soon. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy it. That's pretty much everything. So once again, I want to thank you for joining. It's been a pleasure talking to myself for 36 minutes, but I do appreciate that people engage with me on Instagram and Twitter or TikTok or whatever, asking questions. Actually, sorry. When I mentioned there about questions, I do want to allude to this, the 2023 Ryder Cup, because I got 2 questions about it today on Instagram asking for me to discuss it. Where does this put Rob MacIntyre? Like I mentioned and alluded to earlier, Rob MacIntyre has every basis to go to Luke Donald now and say, you know what, I want to be on that Ryder Cup team. He's 3rd in the European team rankings right now. I think he'll get there more than likely. I thought that Marco Simone was actually going to be a boring test. I was completely wrong. I think it'd be actually a really good Ryder Cup venue. There's some drivable par 4s. There's a gettable par 5s. I think if Luke Donald decides that he wants to go out this rough, we actually might have a chance maybe. I think it's going to be an enjoyable Ryder Cup venue. In terms of what chance we have, I want to be positive. The eternal optimist within me wants to be positive whenever I'm analysing any of this. I want to be optimistic about the international team's chances this week. I don't think we really have a chance. That's my honest opinion. I think the USA team is just too good right now. And yeah, even if we think about players who aren't playing this week, like Sahith or Zalatoris, even who had to withdraw, Aaron Wise, it's just so much depth there. And I don't think we have a great chance. But I think Marco Simone will be an excellent chance. And if anybody knows any tickets going, do reach out, because I'd love to get my hands on a set of tickets to go next year for the full week. Love it. All right. Do engage on whatever. Follow me on LinkedIn. Man, every week I say LinkedIn, and I don't know why. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram at The Plug Live. Follow me on TikTok at The Plug Live. Follow me on YouTube. Subscribe to me. Follow the podcast on Apple and Spotify. Follow it on YouTube. Do all that good stuff wherever you're listening to. Listen, but whether you're driving right now, or you're sitting at home watching this on your laptop, or you're just working, thank you once again for listening to the Plug Live podcast. And I'll see you again here next week.